Hello and welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the reading of the play To Be Played by Miguel del Arco and Aitor Tejada, translated by Simon Breden and directed by Jorge de Juan. You just saw Madalena Alberto, Leila Ashgar, Raúl Fernández, Alex Mugnaioni, Maite Jauregui, and Keith Porter. We will start now with the Q&A. So I'll introduce you to our guests. I'll ask a few questions and later I'll open the floor to your questions, which you can send over via the YouTube comment section. Aitor Tejada, he's a playwright, an actor, a screenwriter, assistant director, and producer, as well as the soul and the instigator, together with Miguel del Arco, from Kamikaze Producciones, which both founded in 2002, and which is one of the most influential production companies in Spain. He has been awarded some of the most important theater awards, like the Max Awards in 2011 for Best Private Entrepreneur, Best Theater Adaptation, and Best Performance, and also the Max Awards in 2012 for Best Private Entrepreneur, Best Performance, and the 2015 Ceres Awards for the Best Business Career in Theater. As you know, Aitor has written together with Miguel del Arco the play To Be Played, the play that you just saw, La Función por Hacer, and he has also been assistant director in several plays like Hamlet, Misanthropy, Desire, The Inspector General, Summerfolk, and the play To Be Played, La Función por Hacer, amongst many other work. As producer, we can also highlight his work in many plays, and he's one of the founders of the Kamikaze Theater in Madrid, which opened its doors in 2016, and that in only 4 years has proven to be a reference point for theater in Spain. In 2017, the Kamikaze Theater received the National Theater Award. Welcome, Aitor. It's a pleasure to have you here today. Bienvenido. Es un placer tenerte aquí.
Muchas gracias.
We also have Simon Breden with us. Simon is one of the most recognized theater translators from Spanish, having worked with Alfredo Sanzol, Maria Prado, Denise Esperieux, and also with us at the Cervantes Theater. His translations have been performed at the Royal Court, the Ustinov Studio, the Gate Theatre, and the Royal National Theatre in London, as well as at literary festivals such as Bath and High and Wye. He's currently a lecturer at the University of Deusto in Bilbao. Hello, Simon. It's lovely to have you here too.
Very much. It's lovely to be here.
We also have with us Jorge de Juan, that as many of you already know, he's the founder and artistic director of the Cervantes Theater and the Spanish Theater Company. Jorge has directed this online dramatized reading, and then he'll be able to tell us more about the process. Hello, Jorge.
Hello, good evening.
And we also have with us Maite Jauregui. You just saw her playing the role of the woman, and she's an actress and a long-term collaborator of the Cervantes Theater. With her, she's played Blood Wedding, The House of Bernarda Alba, The Judge of the Divorces and Others, or The Reality. And Maite will help us translating Aitor during the Q&A. Welcome, Maite, and congratulations for your performance.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I'll start with a first question for Aitor. Just tell us how was listening to the play in English for the first time. Aitor, cuéntanos cómo ha sido escuchar esta obra traducida al inglés por primera vez.
Bueno, ha sido emocionante. Estaba muy nervioso, muy nervioso. Esta función yo la he visto, la nuestra, como unas 150 veces y pensaba que me iba a ser mucho más difícil verla.
So he says it's been very exciting to watch the play. I'm nervous that the production that they did, he watched it about 150 times and that he thought it was going to be a lot harder to watch.
Pero cuando ha comenzado con esa primera escena que me ha parecido maravillosa, me he olvidado completamente de lo que nosotros hacíamos y me habéis llevado hasta el final muy emocionado.
But that as soon as that first scene started, which he found really great, well performed, he just like went completely into it, and all the way until the end, he was just very touched by it.
Solamente puedo daros la enhorabuena, y a ti, Maite, como mujer, y para que la transmitas a todo el equipo, porque he revivido las emociones que yo he vivido en nuestros escenarios, con lo cual me ha parecido maravilloso. Mi nivel de inglés no es bueno, pero he seguido la función perfectamente.
So he wants to congratulate the whole cast, because he says that he's felt the same emotions as he did when he watched their own production, and that his level of English is not very good, but that even so he felt everything.
Pues así la he visto, emocionado.
Muchas gracias. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I want to also start from the beginning, from the origin of this play. So you and Miguel del Arco wrote this play in 2008 to 2009, and it's an adaptation of Pirandello's 6 Characters in Search of an Author. Tell us, why did you and Miguel decided to write this play, and how was the creative process for you? Decía que decidisteis escribir esta obra ya por el 2010, 2008, 2009, ¿no? Y que es una adaptación de 6 personajes en busca de autor, de Pirandello. Y me interesa mucho que nos cuentes de dónde surge la idea de escribir esta obra y cómo fue el proceso creativo.
Pues mira, la idea surge de Miguel del Arco, que fue uno de los textos que cuando estaba en la escuela de arte dramático, él se quedó con ganas de hacer. Y cuando nos pensamos en escribir algo sobre algún clásico, dijo 6 personajes en busca de autor.
So the idea came from Miguel del Arco, who's the other writer of this play, because when he was at drama school, he always wanted to put on this play, and he never did. So when they thought of, what classic play could we put on, it was clear that this was the one that they wanted to do.
Y el proceso fue un poco kamikaze, de ahí también nuestro nombre, porque paseamos este texto por varios teatros, nadie lo quiso y decidimos producirlo nosotros.
So the process was quite. Is there a translation for that word in English? Kamikaze.
Kamikaze. I don't know.
I don't know. Turbulent, I'll say, because they took it to several theaters and nobody wanted to take it on, so they decided to produce it themselves. It's suicidal is the word. Go on.
Y
Continúa.
conectamos con 3 actrices y 3 actores a los que algunos conocíamos, a otros no les conocíamos más que de verles trabajar. Les entregamos un texto y les dijimos si estaban dispuestos a quedarse sin vacaciones de verano, sin tener un local de estreno, un teatro para poder estrenar, y que a lo único a lo que nos podíamos comprometer era a pagarles los ensayos al precio que marca el sindicato.
So they got in touch with 3 actors and 3 actresses, some of whom they knew and some others some of them they didn't know, and they said to them, they asked them if they were willing to not have holidays, instead of this rehearse for this play without even having a place to put it on, and for a very for like the wage, the minimum wage to rehearse.
Y el proceso fue maravilloso, porque ya la primera semana nos dimos cuenta que teníamos un material que nos emocionaba, que teníamos unas actrices y unos actores que estaban haciendo aquello más grande de lo que pensábamos, y fue pues un grupo de gente que no se conoce, que de repente se encuentra, se emociona junta, y estuvimos trabajando juntos durante 5 años como una compañía más o menos estable.
So from the get-go, it was very clear that it just worked, and the whole group just worked really well together, and they worked together for 5 years, and the actors from the beginning were just making it much bigger than they would have ever expected it to be, and that's how the process worked from beginning to end for those 5 years.
Y ni Miguel ni yo, cuando empezamos con esto, éramos conscientes de que estábamos creando una compañía. Nos dimos cuenta pasado un tiempo. Y la verdad es que fue una experiencia maravillosa y aquí seguimos después de eso.
So Miguel and him didn't even realize that they were actually creating a company then. And it was just a wonderful process for them, and they're still here. They're still a company.
And during the rehearsal process, because Miguel directed the play, you were also assistant director there. In which ways the rehearsal process informed the writing of the text? Me interesa un poco lo que cuentas, ¿no? del proceso de ensayos en el que Miguel dirigía, ¿no? Y tú estabas trabajando como ayudante de dirección. ¿En qué maneras le dieron forma al texto esos ensayos? ¿Qué cosas ibais cambiando, adaptando? ¿Cómo
Muy
fue
poco,
ese ensayo?
muy poco, muy poco. La verdad es que todo el mundo cuando veía la función era como de, pero improvisan mucho, ¿no? No improvisan nada. Es verdad que después de 200 y pico funciones, bueno, pues se fueron metiendo cositas que ahí estaba yo para decir, che, esa fuera, esta te la concedo, pero esta fuera. Pero se cambió muy poco del texto original.
So they actually changed very little from the original text, and a lot of people would come to see the show and say, oh, but this is mostly improvised, and it wasn't that way. They didn't change much. And he, Aitor says that after like 200 shows, they would start, here and there adding some bits, and then he would be there to be like, no, take that one away. That's not going to be part of the show. But yeah, that very little was changed.
Pero sí es verdad que en la puesta en escena con los actores, en lo que sí se ganó es algo en lo que también he visto hoy en vosotros. O sea, que de repente hay textos que os los vais pisando unos a otros, que parece que lo estáis viviendo de verdad. Entonces, eso sí se generó durante los ensayos, porque si no, no dejan de ser unas líneas una detrás de otra, ¿no? Y eso es lo que hizo que se compactara y se cerrara.
So what did happen during rehearsals is that actors started to say their lines on top of one another, which is something that we also did in this dramatized reading. And yeah, that's something that did happen. It wasn't just a line after a line, but and that made it feel like it was alive and like, those characters were saying those words for the first time.
Pero disfrutamos mucho porque creo que teníamos unos actrices y actores muy comprometidos con el material que tenían. Y entonces eso hizo, después de un ensayo de una escena concreta, porque los primeros días siempre son de ajuste, y de repente un día en el que una primera escena y todos los compañeros vieron el nivel que se había logrado allí y de repente hizo todo ¡buah! Y subió como la espuma. Entonces Miguel y yo nos íbamos a casa extasiados.
So he says that that they were very lucky to have these 6 actors who were incredibly committed to the text, and that I just lost the plot. That they were very committed, and that specifically after one scene, that at one point during the rehearsal they worked on this one scene, and then all of a sudden everything went up, became bigger, and then from then onwards just the whole thing became bigger, and that him and Miguel were just completely excited and went back home just completely, excited and happy.
Y a mí, que no me gusta nada ver teatro en televisión, en este caso en un orden, ha habido muchos momentos en los que me habéis llevado a esa sensación. Por eso digo que me habéis emocionado.
So he doesn't like watching theater on a screen, especially on a computer. And he says that today, this production made him feel those sensations again and those feelings.
Está mal que yo lo diga porque soy parte de uno de los autores de este texto. Creo que el texto es muy potente, pero hace falta actrices y actores comprometidos. Y creo que nosotros los teníamos y hoy lo he visto. O sea, imagino que también para ti como actriz, lo puedes decir, hay algo en el texto que te desborda, que te lleva, ¿no? Entonces, si eso se lleva, a mí me emociona.
Yeah. Yeah. Aitor is saying that he said it's not, I shouldn't be saying this myself because I'm part of it and I've also co-written this text, and the text is very good, but you need actors to really feel it and to drive the play, and that he feels like tonight that's what he watched, and that he's asking me if I felt that that this text just sort of drives you and takes you to places and emotions the whole time. It's like a roller coaster, and that's exactly how I felt as well. And we only had 2 days to rehearse. So I was just like finding things as we went in those 2 days. And even the day that we were filming, I said to Jorge, or to one of the actors, I just realized why my character cries here, because you're just doing it. And then I don't know, it was, the text is really good. And I'm really happy, and I feel very lucky to have been a part of this. And it's a beautiful text. The other actors were amazing. Jorge directed us beautifully in 2 days, and it's just a great show. Thank you.
Hay dirección también. Yo hablo de actores, pero hay dirección también.
Yeah.
Yo simplemente me he dejado seguir por el texto y por los actores. No he hecho absolutamente nada más que las cámaras.
Bueno, yo creo que hay aportaciones. O sea, evidentemente lo acabo de ver delante del ordenador, lo que has jugado con las cámaras, lo que has jugado con esos apartes a cámara ya que no tenías público. Hay aportaciones.
Yeah, Aitor is saying that, he's talking about the actors all the time, but that there's also direction here. And I can say that that's also true because I've been there. And the way in which he's, how he set up the cameras and so many other things he's had a hand on.
And that brings me to Jorge, who directed this dramatized reading, and a question, because this is a play in which the actors interact a lot with the audience. So it's something that we were already talking and discussing, you were already mentioning, Jorge, the way, the vision in which you kind of brought in the cameras in order to simulate that they are kind of part of the audience and addressing to the camera. So tell us a little bit more about these ideas in order to adapt this play, which is obviously written to be performed in a theater with a live audience, but then now due to these circumstances, we are filming it as a dramatized reading basically in a different media. So what things have you had to adapt or thinking in a very creative way, and what challenges you faced during this rehearsal and filming?
Okay, first of all, in this, for today, I would like to make an exemption. And now that we have got Aitor here, I would prefer to speak in Spanish and for Maite to translate me, and then for Aitor to understand better when I'm saying in Spanish. So, regarding your question, estoy diciendo a Aitor que prefiero hablar en español para que así me puedas entender tú mejor y Maite traduzca al público. Y a ver, para mí lo fundamental de esta obra, que es un texto original de Pirandello grande, muy grande, y que la adaptación es brillante y es inteligentísima, y además es una traducción moderna, y una adaptación, perdón, moderna, y una traducción que también lo es, porque la traducción para mí, traduce si quieres, Maite.
Oh, He's saying that the important thing for him is, well, this is a brilliant adaptation of an amazing classic, and the translation is also beautifully done.
Y aquí, en la traducción lo que ha permitido es que los actores se sintieran, como decía antes Aitor, entregados totalmente al texto, sin necesidad de entenderlo demasiado en 2 días además, sino dejarse guiar por todas las emociones, por toda la realidad que tiene ese texto, por toda la verdad que tiene ese texto.
¿Has dicho la adaptación o la traducción?
La traducción.
Traducción. Yeah, that's what I thought. The translation has allowed the cast to not have to think about it too much and just go with it and feel those emotions that, sorry, Aitor was talking about.
Y entonces para mí lo fundamental era, claro, este texto lo que necesita es un público con el cual comunicarse y con el cual interactuar además, donde el público además se siente sorprendido por la verdad y por la ficción sin saber realmente por cuál decantarse.
So this text really calls for an audience to be there, and for, you know, the cast to be, the actors to be in communication with the audience, and for the audience to be surprised about this duality between reality and fiction, and, you know, choose or debate which one is real or what it is, just to be surprised by the text.
Y claro, el problema para mí era cómo acercar este texto a una audiencia audiovisual, porque es un texto tan potente y es una producción que yo la he visto tan potente que no sabía cómo hacerlo en 6 horas de grabación y en 2 días de ensayo. Entonces, me acuerdo que el primer día, si te acuerdas, Maite, de ensayos, en el primer día fue cuando de repente me vino a la cabeza el trasladar que estos actores que están interpretando la obra, al principio, como en cualquier teatro, tanto en el Kamikaze como en el nuestro, la estamos grabando para archivo, con 2 cámaras. Entonces, en un momento determinado, que entraban los personajes y entonces que decidían uno de los actores seguir grabando la función. Y entonces las cámaras bajaran al escenario y desde ese momento poder jugar con la realidad dentro de la realidad, de la ficción dentro de la ficción, y que hubiera 2 públicos, tanto el público de la sala como el público que estaba viendo la función.
So the challenge for Jorge from the start was how am I going to do this play which really needs an audience without an audience and being filmed? So the first day of rehearsals, he suddenly, I think after we had the first read-through, he suddenly came up with this idea that actually the actors on stage are being filmed, and that one of the actors is just gonna, well, the actor who plays the actor is going to talk to one of the cameras and address them so that the audience, us from home watching it, actually understand that there's like a double there's like a double audience. It's the cameras and then it's the audience, and so it's a game between reality and fiction. There's like it's like a meta theater, meta drama, I don't know how to call this.
Y lo que tenéis que haber visto es cómo lo grabamos, porque claro, yo estaba literalmente guiando de la cintura a una de las cámaras donde ocurría la acción principal, y con la mano izquierda, diciéndole al otro cámara hacia quién se tenía que dirigir, porque en mi mente estaba editando al mismo tiempo el cómo poder hacerlo, porque si no habría sido absolutamente imposible el haberlo hecho.
So what would have been great to film was actually Jorge directing and filming this thing, because he was literally grabbing from the waist one of the camera guys, and he was just like pulling him from one place to another, and at the same time with the left hand telling the other camera guy where he had to go, because he, in his mind, he was already editing it, and you were also sometimes telling the actors, by the way, like move that way, or, you know, we also had to be looking at Jorge. Yeah, it was quite funny. We should have made a film of that.
Yeah.
Muy bien.
Yes,
Paula.
and Simon, well, I think your translation was phenomenal. So congratulations. And what were, if any, the challenges that you encountered?
Thank you. First of all, thank you for. I'm also very critical of my own work, so I was listening to it and thinking I'd like to edit and change quite a bit now. I think one of the first challenges is as a translator is for a show like this as well, because I also saw it back in I don't know when, actually 2010, 11, something like that. And well, I experienced what everybody else did at the time, and the astonishment at the production, the commitment of that cast. And so I wanted to do the play justice as well. I wanted to try to find a language for it that would that could excite a British audience in the way that I had been excited as an audience member by the original production. And inevitably, as a translator, you also become the first interpreter of that text, and so what you get is not just a translation, but also an interpretation of it. So I was trying to think how I could make that work in the mouths of British actors, and with a particular and sort of the world of British theatre as well, trying to find equivalents for a lot of the things that felt very implicit about making theatre, but also making theatre in Spain. Mm-hmm. So yes, and in terms of challenges, there are actually so many in this text. I think one of the biggest challenges is translate, because obviously you try to create a different voice for each character as well, but inevitably I kind of hear my own voice through them. I try to express things in the way that I would. And I found the elder brother very hard to translate for, primarily because he has these very intricate theoretical speeches, and also very intricate syntax at those points as well. It's quite complicated to render that. So I'm caught somewhere between, I think, wanting to communicate completely what he's trying to express in Spanish. And also finding that probably in English he just needs to be a bit more direct. Mm-hmm. So that's one of my notes to myself, is probably to go back to that, to some of those more syntactically complex moments, and think about how to reorder the thought, because that's what in a way that's what you end up doing when translating theatre, is thinking about how the thought is communicated, and a lot of that actually depends on syntax and in the order in which we structure sentences and communicate with each other. So it's very tricky. I was also very struck by the fact that there were the cast who were they were fantastic, and thank you, Maite, as well. I also it struck me that some of my very British choices didn't sound as good. And some of the words you were changing to sort of American, to suit the accent, and I thought it was very appropriate. So one of the things that I would love to be able to do is to carry on working and adapting, so that translation really does fit with the voice of the character. Well, not just the character, but also the actor. Mm-hmm. As we're in this whole meta-theatrical conversation at the moment with this play, anyway.
You would have noticed, Simon, that instead of saying Sancho Panza, we decided to say Don Quixote because it's more well known here, Don Quixote, than Sancho Panza. So that was a decision we took. But the rest of the text, it worked perfectly. And what do you think, Simon? Perdona, Paula. What do you think, Simon, about the possibility? Because we always thought, Paula and I, that this could be a play that the British audience would like a lot. Le estoy diciendo a Aitor que siempre hemos pensado, que por eso además hablamos en su momento de hacer la producción antes de hacer la lectura dramatizada, pero por las circunstancias hemos decidido hacerlo así, y el año que viene, si nos dais permiso, pues nos gustaría que hacer la producción aquí. Incluso hablamos con Miguel de que pudierais venir si ya no a dirigirla Miguel o incluso tú, el poder venir a presentarla aquí en nuestro teatro, pero que siempre hemos pensado que esta producción, que este texto, el público británico le encantaría y lo entendería perfectamente. Y le estoy preguntando a Simon qué opina él.
I completely agree. Entonces estamos de acuerdo, sí.
Okay.
I mean, British theatre has a very long tradition and a relationship with meta theatre. Noises Off, Michael Frayn, and just to name one. It's built into Shakespeare even. The plays within plays.
Yeah.
Of course, this would work, and I think it's. I think one of the things that was most gratifying to watch in that was how quickly I was able to just feel that I could enter this story in English as well, not just in Spanish, and that it made sense and that it was communicating. And I think that the British audience is very used to the idea of seeing actors in their process. Even that that lockdown sitcom with Tennant and it's a perfect example. I mean, the idea of going behind the scenes and seeing how something happens, I think is just very widely accepted. And this has got everything. It's got the drama. It's very funny as well. It's such a funny text. Those moments of a very dry humor. I love the actress, that character, and all of her lines are a lot of fun to translate. So yes, I think of course it would work perfectly. I think it would.
And Aitor, I wanted to ask you, because this play, the play to be played, was a turning point in theatre in Spain. It was extremely well received by critics and by the audience. It won 7 Max Awards and brought you a lot of success and recognition. And I think it was one of the first productions you did with the production company you and Miguel founded with Kamikaze Producciones. So I wanted to ask you what impact did the success of this play had for Kamikaze Producciones, and is this something that you had imagined this could happen? Decía que el impacto que esta obra tuvo en la escena teatral española fue impresionante. Y que bueno, creo que fue como un antes y un después, no solamente la escena teatral, sino también para vuestra productora, para Kamikaze Producciones, que era como el comienzo de. Entonces, cuéntanos un poco desde tu punto de vista, ¿por qué crees que tuvo ese recibimiento tan excepcional por parte de crítica y público? ¿Y qué impacto tuvo o qué supuso esto para Kamikaze Producciones?
Bueno, para nosotros todo. Es como si ese fuera el año cero, que no esperábamos. Lo he dicho antes, que estábamos creando una compañía sin saber que lo estábamos creando. Entonces, para nosotros nos cambió la vida. Quiero decir, éramos actores que estábamos escribiendo series de televisión, guiones, pero que era nuestra primera entrada en el mundo teatral desde el otro lado, ¿no? Entonces, supuso absolutamente todo. Dejo que traduzca.
So for them, it changed absolutely everything. As he said before, they were creating this company without even knowing that they were creating a company. And they were 2 actors writing for TV series in that moment. So this play changed absolutely everything for them.
¿Y por qué pasó lo que pasó? Evidentemente no lo sabremos nunca. Pero yo sí tengo la sensación, esto lo hicimos en el hall del Teatro Lara, que es un teatro de Madrid muy pequeñito, con un hall muy pequeñito, donde entraban 80 personas. Y la energía de esos actores y actrices, la gente salía de allí con el pelo de punta. O sea, esa energía, esas sensaciones y emociones, la gente lo vivía con el actor a 30 centímetros de él. Entonces yo creo que eso lo habíamos visto en el teatro argentino con producciones que habían llegado a Madrid, pero yo creo que que en Madrid no había habido nunca una producción así. Yo creo que de repente dijeron, anda, aquí también se puede, ¿no? Entonces yo creo que la gente salía tan arrebatada que eso hizo que el boca a boca y demás fuera impresionante.
So he says they'll never know why it became so successful, but the thing is that they started doing this show in a very small, in the hall, in the entrance of a very small theater. They could only fit 80 people, but they were very close to the actors. And he says that the energy of the actors made people leave the theater with goosebumps, and that it's the word of mouth that made people, you know, go to see this production, which eventually became bigger, and that they had seen these kinds of productions in Argentina. But he says that he thinks it's probably the first time that in Spain they were doing a production of this type, and that it really worked and people really loved it.
Nos pilló muy desprevenidos a todos, pero creo que supimos afrontarlo aprendiendo sobre la marcha. Y bueno, ya han pasado 10 años, 11 años de aquello. Y bueno, pues a veces me parece poco tiempo, a veces mucho, pero yo solamente puedo decir que la función por hacer nos puso en el mundo.
So they weren't expecting it, this monumental success that they had, but they managed to deal with it, and it's been 10 years since this happened, which he can't believe it's been 10 years. And ¿qué es lo último que has dicho?
Que fue maravilloso y que esto nos puso en el mundo. O sea, que
that this basically, yeah,
nacimos ahí.
Yeah, it gave them a name. They were born through this play, and it gave them a place in the world. Thank you.
And from Kamikaze Productions, Kamikaze Producciones, to Kamikaze Theater, Teatro Kamikaze. 4 years ago, you, together with Miguel del Arco, Israel Lejalde, and Jordi Buxó, took over the Pavón Theater in Madrid, el Teatro Pavón, and opened the doors of the Kamikaze Theater. So, I mean, coincidentally, we also opened the doors of the Cervantes Theater 4 years ago. So this Saturday will be the anniversary. And I can't help feeling very close to the Kamikaze too, and you know, the fact that they're both 4 years old, and it took a lot of courage, determination, and passion to make them flourish. I wanted you to tell us about this transition from the theater company to opening a theater, and basically how is the beginning, the journey, and where you are at the moment. Decía que me interesa mucho saber este viaje, ¿no? Esta transición entre Kamikaze Producciones y el Teatro Kamikaze, y también que, pues bueno, que eso, que hace 4 años decidisteis abrir el teatro en el antiguo Teatro Pavón, y que coincide también, cuando reflexionaba sobre esto, que nosotros también hace 4 años que abrimos. De hecho, este sábado es el aniversario. Y bueno, no puedo evitar sentir esa cercanía entre los dos teatros y saber que, pues bueno, que al final se levantan a pulso. Y quería que nos contaras un poco cómo ha sido esta aventura de abrir el Teatro Kamikaze allí en Madrid, los comienzos, el viaje de estos 4 años y un poco en qué momento, en qué punto estáis ahora.
Bueno, pues el comienzo de Teatro Kamikaze, dices, ¿por qué? ¿Por qué unas compañías privadas, porque entró Jordi Buxó con Buxman Producciones, se meten en este embolado? Bueno, pues llegó un momento en que Kamikaze Producciones, como decías, tenía espectáculos que estaban funcionando muy bien, pero tristemente, después de la crisis de 2008-2010, ahora mismo en España, por lo menos, las giras se reducen a fines de semana, con lo cual es imposible mantener una compañía, es imposible recuperar una inversión solamente con las giras. Con lo cual, bueno, pues decidimos meternos en el Pavón Teatro Kamikaze.
So, yeah, he's saying why did private productions decide to do this, come into this project, Jordi Bouchot and other companies? And after 2008, after the crisis, the touring around Spain was reduced to only weekends, and doing only weekends, it was just impossible to survive as a company.
Entonces, bueno, apareció la posibilidad de El Pavón, que se quedaba libre, lo dejaba libre la Compañía Nacional de Teatro Clásico. Cometimos la equivocación, iba a decir, entre comillas, de ir a visitar el teatro, y cuando visitamos el teatro nos enamoramos del teatro. Con lo cual, aunque el alquiler era... No pasa nada. Aunque el alquiler fuera un disparate, decidimos tirarnos a la piscina porque pensábamos que en el fondo habría algo de agua.
So it just so happened that in that moment there was this theater called Pavón in Madrid, which became available, and they made the mistake of going to visit it. And even though the rent was incredibly expensive, once they saw it, they completely fell in love with it, and they decided to jump into the pool thinking, we're sure there'll be a little bit of water at the deep end.
Y estos 4 años que llevamos no han sido fáciles. Somos un teatro privado con un alquiler altísimo. Bueno, no ha sido fácil, pero es otra experiencia maravillosa que ahora se ha truncado por la situación mundial que estamos viviendo con el coronavirus. Todavía esto tiene mucha más inseguridad. Bueno, pues imagino que un poco lo mismo que estáis viviendo allí. O sea, creo que esto nos ha afectado a todos, al mundo de la cultura, pero a todos los gremios habidos y por haber, ¿no? Pero experiencia maravillosa, trabajo enorme, esfuerzo enorme. Pero bueno, al final hay satisfacción, aunque hay momentos en los que te apetecería tirar la toalla, pero aquí seguimos. De momento ni el coronavirus, de momento, ha podido con nosotros. Esperemos que nos deje.
So these past 4 years have not been easy, but and now, especially with the pandemic, well, things have gotten even more complicated, but it has been an amazing experience, and there's been a lot of effort and a lot of work and days where one wants to just completely sort of let go and throw the towel. Can you say that?
¿Cómo? Felicidad.
I'm asking Simon if you can use that expression in English, lo de tirar la toalla.
Ah, bueno.
But it's worth it, and it's been an amazing experience, and not even the pandemic has for now managed to to stop them from doing their amazing work.
Yes. Sí, al final somos supervivientes, ¿no? Y estamos entrenados en la lucha.
Exacto.
A mí me gustaría decir que bueno, Aitor y yo nos conocemos hace ya muchísimos años y claro, desde hace 38 años que yo empecé, o incluso un poco más, en el mundo del teatro, a mí siempre lo he dicho, porque además os tengo muchísima envidia, Teatro Kamikaze, o sea, lo que habéis hecho y la importancia que ha adquirido el Teatro Kamikaze en estos años para mí, y el trabajo que han hecho los 4 socios integrantes de Kamikaze, es lo más importante que ha pasado en el teatro español desde hace muchísimos años. El cambio que ha sufrido el teatro español en todos estos años ha venido por el trabajo que ellos han hecho. Evidentemente hay otras personas por ahí. Afortunadamente ahora tenemos a Alfredo Sanzol en el Centro Dramático Nacional, ¿no? Pero como ha comentado antes Aitor, el impacto que produjo esa función y luego lo que ellos han hecho a lo largo de estos años y el riesgo que han corrido, las funciones que han producido, que han acogido además en el Teatro Kamikaze, han hecho que el teatro español haya cambiado desde entonces.
Shall I translate?
Yeah, please.
So Jorge is saying that he's known Aitor for many, many years, and that, of course, the amazing work that they've done with the Teatro Kamikaze is the single thing that has changed and developed the theater in Spain the most. That their project has just elevated everything to a different place, and it all stemmed through this play, from this play, the play to be played, and what they've done with that and from then is just absolutely amazing and has changed completely the theater in Spain.
Pues me emociona mucho esto que dices, Jorge, pero sobre todo porque yo tengo la sensación de que soy un pringao, que voy todos los días a las 9 de la mañana al teatro y hay muchos días que llego a las 10 de la noche aquí. Entonces, no me da tiempo a pensar todo eso. Los cuatro, trabajamos y luego a veces recogemos éxitos y también recogemos fracasos, como corresponde, ¿no? Pero bueno, es el aprendizaje y en ello estamos.
Bienvenido al club.
Exactamente, por eso te lo digo.
Aitor says that he doesn't feel that way at all, that he just goes at 9 a.m. in the morning to work, and sometimes he comes back at 10 p.m. at night, and you know that there's been a lot of success but also a lot of failure, and that, you know, but he's very grateful. He doesn't even have time to think about all these things, all this praise that Jorge is giving him.
There is a question for Aitor and for Jorge as well. Basically 2020, which has been a year, that has brought many struggles and very challenging for everyone, worldwide, but also for the theater industry. I just wanted to ask, despite of the challenges, what are the plans within this ever-changing context, obviously, but what are the plans? What is your vision for 2021, for next year? Decía que esta es una pregunta para los dos, para Aitor y para Jorge, que a pesar de este año, pues eso, sin precedentes, que ha traído pues un montón de dificultades y que ahí seguimos luchando y mirando hacia el futuro, y aunque sea difícil planificar, ¿hacia dónde miráis? ¿Hacia dónde ponéis la vista y los esfuerzos para el 2021?
Bueno, nosotros ahora mismo vamos casi día a día. Normalmente siempre presentábamos toda la temporada al comienzo de temporada, porque la teníamos ya cerrada. Es verdad que ahora hemos tenido que acomodar espectáculos que no se pudieron hacer en primavera para poder hacerlos este año. Y bueno, de alguna manera lo que ahora mismo no nos podemos plantear es una gran producción nueva, porque es que es inviable, porque es que necesitamos un año de gira para recuperar la inversión y ahora mismo no podemos hacer esos planes. Entonces, bueno, estamos volviendo a Madrid con los espectáculos que ya se habían pasado ya nuestros, que estaban de gira, volver a Jauría, volver a las canciones, bueno, espectáculos que han funcionado muy bien. Entonces, bueno, pues va a ser un año de reposiciones casi, porque teníamos compañías invitadas que se han echado para atrás ante la situación. Con lo cual, bueno, pues ahora mismo yo creo que se trata un poco de sobrevivir, no lo digo en el sentido malo de la palabra, sino, bueno, tirar para adelante, intentar darle al público espectáculos de calidad y que si no los vieron en su momento tengan la opción de volver a verlos y que el teatro continúe, porque aunque ahí ahora mismo estáis parados, en Madrid ahora mismo nosotros seguimos haciendo funciones. Entonces, bueno, mientras podamos, el público está asistiendo a las salas, con lo cual esperemos que continúe así.
So this year, basically, they're not going to be able to do any new productions because in order to do that, they first need to go on tour. They had to, usually they present the season at the beginning of the season, but they couldn't do that this year, and they had to change the productions that they were going to be doing in the spring because everything shut down. And right now they're going to be putting on plays that they've done before, and their aim is to make quality theater for people to come for the theater to continue living, because in Madrid the theaters are still remain open, and so yeah, that's their aim.
Bien, a lo mejor puedes añadir alguna cosa más después de lo que yo diga ahora, Paula, pero fundamentalmente nosotros también hemos tenido, Aitor, la sensación de tirar la toalla y de en algún momento el pensamiento de cerrar con todo esto que ha pasado, pero afortunadamente hemos tenido el apoyo de instituciones como Acción Cultural Española, que nos ha permitido, por ejemplo, hacer este ciclo, del Instituto Cervantes, que nos ha ayudado con algo para poder continuar, y de la Embajada, y de alguna empresa española que también nos ha ayudado, y por supuesto del Arts Council, para poder aguantar e iniciar el año que viene.
So Jorge is telling Aitor that they've also had moments of wanting to give up and closing the theater, that thought they've had that thought, but they've luckily been supported by Acción Cultural, Instituto Cervantes, the Spanish Embassy, and of course the Arts Council.
Y entonces el año que viene tenemos planes de evidentemente continuar con toda esta labor que estamos haciendo aquí, de difundir la nueva dramaturgia y el teatro contemporáneo español, pero yo no sé si a ti te pasa como a mí, yo normalmente no suelo ser demasiado positivo, pero con todo esto que está pasando, tengo una extraña sensación en España, además, porque nosotros dependemos mucho de la ayuda española, de que va a haber un renacimiento cultural en España. Tengo esa extraña sensación de que de repente está empezando a haber una corriente, ya no solo por gente como vosotros, sino incluso por determinadas instituciones españolas que se han dado cuenta de la importancia de la cultura en España, y que creo que, no sé por qué, porque siempre criticamos a los políticos, siempre criticamos que no recibimos la ayuda que evidentemente no hemos recibido, ni la importancia que deberíamos tener, pero tengo una sensación de que eso está cambiando y que va a pasar algo positivo.
So Jorge is saying that their intention next year is to continue doing new plays, of new writing, and that he tends to be negative about these things, but that actually this year, with everything that's happening, he feels that there's going to be some sort of like new cultural renaissance, and that certain institutions are actually realizing how important Spanish culture is, and that there's going to be some form of like new cultural renaissance.
Yo creo que viene una generación muy fuerte de autoras, de autores, de directoras, de directores. Creo que está empezando a fraguarse algo importante y que está empezando ya a estrenarse en los teatros públicos. Creo que cuando nosotros llegamos hace 4 años fue una de las primeras cosas que planteamos, que llegábamos a ofrecer a determinada gente en la que confiábamos espectáculos que pudieran sacar adelante y hacerlos en nuestro teatro, porque había muchas autoras y autores con textos importantes que nosotros conocíamos y que no tenían forma de estrenarlos. Me alegra que después de este tiempo, y no digo con esto que nosotros hayamos abierto el camino, había gente que ya venía abriendo ese camino, Creo que nosotros hemos dado un empujón para que esa gente que tiene ahora 30 y 35 años y que están en un momento brillante, puedan mostrar sus trabajos. Y cuando yo veo ahora a Pablo Remón, a Lucía Carballal, a Antonio Rojano, gente que lleva mucho tiempo bregando en esto y que ahora mismo ya están en las salas pequeñas o en las salas grandes de los teatros públicos, a mí se me abre el pecho, porque de repente digo, hombre, ya era hora. O sea, esta gente tiene cosas que contar y cuentan. Tienen que contarnos el mundo como lo están viviendo ellos. Yo ya soy mucho mayor que ellos. Tenemos que oír su punto de vista. Y entonces me alegra mucho que eso esté pasando.
So Aitor is saying that he really feels that there's this new generation of writers and directors, both male and female, who are already starting to put on their productions in public theaters finally, and that this is something that they felt very strongly. This is what they wanted to do, was precisely give a space to these new voices, because he feels that it's very important for these young people to have a voice and to tell the world how they see it, and that this is already happening, and that they weren't the first ones to do it, but they did give a push in that direction, and that this is all just flourishing, and that it makes him very happy.
Yes, and I think just to add to that also, I think that one of the things that we are now, thinking and our vision for 2021 with all these crises is how we can support the younger generations. That at the moment the future is really bleak, and they come out of drama school. Actors, theater directors, playwrights, and they don't know what. There is nothing, or at least it all seems a bit dark at the moment. So I think that it's our responsibility to kind of take care as much as we can and make sure that people don't fell off, and we don't lose a generation of theater makers. So one of the things that we were also thinking is in which way we can support these younger generations. And Jorge and I next week we will announce it, but we are going to do a program to support young directors here, because we have the space which is empty. We can support with mentorship. So a little bit of what you're doing as well, Aitor, there at Teatro Pavón Kamikaze, which is kind of pushing forward and making sure that we don't leave anyone behind. So decía que una de las cosas también que estamos pensando y que queremos hacer para el año que viene y preparando es de qué forma podemos ayudar a las generaciones de jóvenes creadores, actores, directores, autores que ahora mismo salen de su formación y ven un panorama muy oscuro y de repente no hay hueco ni para los que ya están en la industria y de repente se han cerrado las puertas. Entonces estamos viendo a ver de qué forma, un poco como estáis haciendo vosotros allí también en el Kamikaze, de qué forma podemos apoyar en este caso, pues con espacio. El teatro está cerrado al público, pero se pueden seguir haciendo proyectos y vamos a apoyar a directores emergentes para que puedan seguir desarrollando con mentorías y demás y desarrollando su práctica. Entonces, bueno, eso es un poco también en respuesta. Había una pregunta, there was a question in the YouTube kind of channel. Nick Wilson was asking, he said that the play was fantastic and that during the current pandemic, how are the theater world and actors and actresses being able to cope without work? And I think it's basically what we're trying to do. So these dramatized readings is a way to keep, commissioning the translations, showcasing the range of work that we have in Spain, the amazing plays that we have in Spain, and also keep creating and giving work to actors, to technicians, to creatives, and doing things differently, but still keep doing things, which I think it's important, because the moment that you stop, you're lost. Así que, so yes, I don't know if there are more questions in the YouTube channel, or if there is anything else that you would like to add. No sé si queréis añadir alguna cosa más antes de que terminemos.
No, yo solamente daros las gracias. He disfrutado, estaba muy nervioso por lo que iba a ver, porque no sabía nada. Y es un texto, pues eso, que para nosotros es importantísimo. Daros las gracias. Creo que estamos en lo mismo. Todo esto que decías de apoyar a las nuevas generaciones, actores, directores, actrices, directoras, escritoras, es fundamental, es fundamental. Tenemos que escucharles, tenemos que oír cómo ven, tenemos que ver cómo sienten ellos el mundo ahora. Sabemos cómo lo sentía Shakespeare, sabíamos cómo lo sentía Pirandello, sabíamos cómo mucho, pero tenemos, creo que ahora mismo, una generación que viene muy bien preparada y no tenemos que tener miedo a abrirles las puertas y que nos enseñen cómo va a hacer el teatro del futuro.
So Aitor says that, first of all, he's very grateful, that he was very nervous and that he didn't know what to expect, but he was very happy with it. So he's very grateful for that. And then he's saying that he feels like him and Paula and Jorge are in the same path of wanting to support new artists, new playwrights and directors, and give them a voice, and that it's very important to listen to them, because we know how Shakespeare viewed the world and Pirandello viewed the world, but we need to give a voice to these to this younger generation and not be scared of opening that space for them and allowing them to have a voice.
Bueno, pues muchísimas gracias, Aitor. Ha sido un placer. Thank you so much, Aitor, Simon, Jorge, Maite. It's been lovely speaking with you. And I also want to take this opportunity again to thank Acción Cultural Española, the Cervantes Institute, the Spanish government, and the Spanish Embassy in London and Arts Council England for their support, especially now during these challenging times. And thank you everyone for joining us today. Have a lovely evening and see you soon.
Bye, and see you in the theater.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.